Hello and welcome to the next instalment of our series on the parables of Jesus. This week we will be looking at the three parables that feature in Luke 15. Whilst they can be read and digested separately, they are intended to be read together as they illustrate and emphasise a similar point. They are the parable of the lost sheep, the lost coin and the prodigal son. I will read them to you now from the Message version. By this time, a lot of men and women of questionable reputation were hanging around Jesus, listening intently. The Pharisees and religion scholars were not pleased at all. They growled, "He takes in sinners and eats meals with them, treating them like old friends." Their grumbling triggered this story. Suppose one of you had 100 sheep and lost one. Wouldn't you leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the lost one until you found it? When found, you can be sure you would put it across your shoulders, rejoicing. And when you got home, call your friends and neighbours, saying, "Celebrate with me, I found my lost sheep." Count on it, there is more joy in heaven over one sinner's rescued life than over 99 good people in no need of rescue. Or imagine a woman who has 10 coins and loses one. Won't she light a lamp and scour the house, looking in every nook and cranny until she finds it? And when she finds it, you'll be sure that she'll call her friends and neighbours, "Celebrate with me, I found my lost coin." Count on it, that's the kind of party God's angels throw every time one lost soul turns to God. Then he said, "There was once a man who had 2 sons. The younger said to his father, 'Father, I want right now what's coming to me.' So the father divided the property between them. It wasn't long before the younger son packed his bags and left for a distant country. There, undisciplined and dissipated, he wasted everything he had. After he had gone through all his money, there was a bad famine all through that country, and he began to feel it. He signed on with a citizen there who assigned him to his fields and to slop the pigs. He was so hungry that he would have eaten the corn cobs in the pig slop, but no one would give him any. That brought him to his senses. He said, 'All those farmhands working for my father sit down to 3 meals a day, and here I am starving to death. I'm going back to my father. I'll say to him, "Father, I've sinned against God. I've sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son. Take me on as a hired hand." He got right up and went home to his father. When he was still a long way off, his father saw him. His heart pounding, he ran out, embraced him and kissed him. The son started his speech, "Father, I've sinned against God. I've sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son ever again." But the father wasn't listening. He was calling to the servants, "Quick, bring a clean set of clothes and dress him. Put the family ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Then get a prize-winning heifer and roast it. We're going to feast. We're going to have a wonderful time. My son is here, given up for dead and now alive. Given up for lost and now found." And they began to have a wonderful time. All this time his older son was out in the field. When the day's work was done, he came in. As he approached the house, he heard the music and dancing. Calling over one of the houseboys, he asked what was going on. He told him, "Your brother came home. Your father has ordered a feast, barbecued beef, because he has him home safe and sound." The older brother stomped off in an angry sulk and refused to join in. His father came out and tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't listen. The son said, "Look how many years I've stayed here serving you, never giving you one moment of grief. But have you ever thrown a party for me and my friends? Then this son of yours, who has thrown away your money on whores, shows up and you go all out with a feast." His father said, "Son, you don't understand. You're with me all the time, and everything that is mine is yours. But this is a wonderful time, and we had to celebrate. This brother of yours was dead, and he's alive. He was lost, and now he's found." The first 2 parables are stories that show us how the Father feels about us. He is glad of every single person who comes to know him and rejoices every time someone who is in need of rescue is saved. So much so that he is willing to risk everything, not just himself, but also willing to leave those that are already rescued and go in search of the one yet in need of rescue. I think sometimes we find this hard to understand. In many ways, if you have managed to rescue 99 out of 100 sheep, then you've done pretty well and would consider that an achievement. However, to our Father he will not give up until every last one is saved. He aches for us to know him and to be saved with him. He gave up everything to make it possible for us to be in relationship with him, and he will never stop searching for us. When he finds each sheep that is lost or each coin that has been misplaced, as depicted in these parables, he is not just glad to be able to end his search, but he rejoices at what he has found. There is great joy in each and every person who is saved. Whilst we might not associate being saved as one-off events in our lives, it is actually an ongoing thing, where we not only come to know and accept Jesus as Lord, but we continue to not only believe in him, but also to grow in our knowledge of him through a deepening of our relationship with him. It is not a one and done situation. When we turn to the parable of the prodigal son, whilst it is a familiar story to many of us, we sometimes don't realise how countercultural it is. When the younger son asks for his inheritance right away, he's basically telling his father that he wished he was dead. When he eventually wises up and decides to come home after squandering everything he had, the village he came from would have punished the son for losing the family inheritance and would have had nothing to do with him. However, in this story, we see God's extraordinary love goes beyond anything that we could ever expect or imagine. Rather than the disgrace that we deserve, we receive forgiveness and love. In choosing to return home, the son came to his senses. He realised that he needed help, but had to swallow his pride and go back to his father, and he returned home. Turning to God is not an irrational act. Rather, it is a totally rational thing to do. He had to prepare to admit his sin to his father on his return and forfeit the right he had had previously in being his son. But when he did come back, he was fully re-established to his former position. He was loved beyond belief and beyond what he was deserving of, which upset his brother. God's love wasn't only for the younger son, it was also for the older brother. The challenge it leaves us with is, how will those who already know God's love respond to his lavish response of love to those who perhaps we perceive as not deserving of it? We can choose to celebrate with him, or we can choose to be angry or despondent about it. As people who follow Jesus with the intention to become more like him, I hope that we will be more ready to celebrate those who are rescued than the older brother in this story, and join with the heavens in rejoicing. God's love, grace and mercy are incredible, and we can never match it, but we can join in. Lord, thank you for your amazing love that never stops searching for us and celebrates each time we and those who are yet to be rescued are found. Thank you that you rejoice over us as we are continually being saved, and help us to love others as you love them.